Hi, I'm Kalechi Buzium, and I'm an occupational therapy assistant today, and I'm here to perform the passive range of motion, or PROM, onto my client. And what I do as an occupational therapy assistant is basically bring back activities or engagement of occupations that clients find meaningful to their day-to-day lives. So anything from play to work to leisure to sleep or to anything they find meaningful, and we try to provide therapeutic activities or strategies so they could engage or participate in their activities. And what the passive range of motion is basically exercises of the upper extremities to decrease stiffness, increase mobility, and also to increase circulation. So I'm going to perform the PROM of the shoulders, elbows, hands, and wrists. So basically you guys can perform this at home on your loved ones. And she right here, she has a middle cerebral artery, a cerebral vascular accident on the left hemipharesis. So basically her left side is on the weakness. And what I'm going to do right now is to perform the shoulder joints. And what you do on the shoulder joints, the stable hand will be on either the shoulder or the back of the scapula, and my moving arm will be on the mid-humerus. And I'm going to do the shoulder flexion and extension. And you always want to make sure that your client is not in any pain, and always try to ask them if they're in pain. So, are you in any pain right now?
No, I'm not.
Okay. And also, you also want to go through the motions. This is flexion through the motion, but not try to put much force on the client. So this is shoulder extension, shoulder flexion, and shoulder extension. And now I'm going to do the shoulder abduction and shoulder adduction. And again, the same hand placements. The stable hand will be onto the shoulder, and the moving hand will be onto the mid-humerus or the mid-upper arm. And I'm going to do the shoulder abduction and shoulder adduction. So this is shoulder abduction, shoulder adduction, shoulder abduction, and shoulder adduction. And another shoulder joint movement is called the shoulder horizontal abduction and adduction movement. So again, the same hand placements for the shoulder joints as the previous ones. Stable hand on the back of the shoulder or scapula, and my moving hand will be onto the mid-humerus, and I'm going to perform the horizontal abduction and adduction. So this is horizontal abduction, horizontal abduction, horizontal abduction, and horizontal abduction. And are you in any pain?
No,
Right?
I'm not.
Okay. And the last shoulder joint movement is called the internal and external rotation. So in this position, we're going to put her arm down to the side, and the hand placement will be actually, the stable hand will be on the mid-humerus, and also onto the moving hand, the mid-forearm. And I'm going to perform the motion. So this is external rotation, internal rotation, external rotation, and internal rotation. And now we're going to move on to the next joint, which is the elbows. And right now I'm going to use my chair, because also as an occupational therapist, you need to also not strain yourself as you do the passive range of motion exercises. So always know how you're going to be seated so you won't strain yourself. So we're going to do the elbow range of motions. And for the elbow joints, you want to put your stable hand on the posterior elbow or behind the elbow, and your moving hand on the mid forearm. And I'm going to practice the elbow flexion and extension. And always make sure that your client is not in any pain, and always ask them throughout. And also, one more thing, don't try to exceed the range of motion that they can't handle. Always try to stop when they're resisting. So flexion, extension, elbow flexion, elbow extension. And now I'm going to do the elbow supination and elbow pronation. So it's already out in pronation, and you just turn it. Pronation, supination, pronation, and supination. And now we're going to move on to the wrist joints. And for the wrist joints, your stable hands will be on the distal forearm, and your moving hand will be onto the metacarpals. And this here, we're going to perform the wrist flexion and the wrist extension. You could do it in a supination form, or you could do it sidelines. It doesn't matter which, but you can perform it either way. It's just the sidelines, the muscles lay at rest, while as the supination form is kind of, you're stretching out the muscles. But either way, you could perform whatever position you want. So basically, for the wrist flexion and extension, wrist flexion, wrist extension, wrist flexion, wrist extension, and I'm going to perform the radial and ulnar deviation. So radial deviation going towards the thumb, and ulnar deviation going towards the baby finger. One more time. Radial deviation going towards the thumb, and ulnar deviation going towards the baby finger. And last but not least, we're going to perform the hand joints. And I have here the table so she can rest her hand on the table. So make sure you're in safety position. They're out right here. And I'm going to just set her hand sidelines to perform the hand motion. So for the hands, you want your stable hand to be on the metacarpals and your moving hand to be on the phalanges, and we're going to perform the MCP flexion and extension. So MCP flexion, MCP extension, MCP flexion, MCP extension. And we're going to do the interphalanges extension and flexion. But first we're going to do the proximal flexion and extension. So my stable hand will be on the phalanges and my moving hand will be onto the PIP. And I'm going to perform the flexion and extension. Flexion, extension, flexion, extension. And we're going to do it on the distal interphalanges. Again, your stable hand wants to be on the phalanges, and then your moving hand will be onto the DIP, or the distal interphalanges. And again, you want to make sure that your client is not in any pain. Are you in any pain by any chance?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So we're going to do the flexion and extension. Flexion, extension, flexion, extension. And now we're going to perform on the thumb the radial abduction and adduction. And for this, you want to put your stable hand onto the base, support base of the thumb, and your moving hand between the IEP and the IP, and the MCP right here. And we're going to perform the radial abduction and abduction. So radial abduction, radial adduction, radial abduction, radial adduction, And now we're going to do the palmar adduction and abduction. Again, same hand position as I have it for the radial abduction and adduction. We're just going to move sideways for the palmar. So palmar abduction, palmar adduction, palmar abduction, and palmar adduction. And that's basically how you do the PROM exercises. You typically want to do these exercises 5 to 10 times. And again, this is a great exercise for people who have stiffness and just want to increase mobility and circulation. So I hope you guys find this video informative, and I hope you guys practice this. Thank you for watching.